Hey everyone, so today's video is going to be another ranking video. I am doing an updated ranking of my highlighters for 2020 because I have decluttered some formulas, I've tried some new formulas, and I feel like my personal preferences when it comes to highlighter has changed a little bit. So I wanted to give you guys a look at my collection, do some mini reviews, and let you guys know which ones are the worst and which ones are the best. So I have 15 different highlighter formulas in my collection, and I will note that I did do a declutter a few months ago, so I do enjoy some aspect to every single one of these highlighters, otherwise they wouldn't be in my collection, but there are definitely some that I reach for over others. So let's start with number 15 and we'll work our way up to number 1. So at number 15 I have the KALEIDOS Space Age highlighters. These retail for $14 each. I do have two different shades and I think that these are really beautiful. As a whole, I love KALEIDOS. I think they make a lot of amazing quality products, and these are really nice if you like glittery highlighters. I really don't reach for glittery highlighters a whole lot these days. I would say it's very, very rare. So the reason I kept these in my collection is because on the occasion where I do want something a little bit more glittery and fun, it's nice to have them, but they're just not my go-to formulas for that reason. I actually like using them all over the eye or like as an inner corner highlight just to add a fun sparkle, but it's just not something I wear on the cheeks a whole lot. If you like really interesting colors or really glittery formulas, I think you'll enjoy these because for glittery formulas, they're very, very smooth, which is why, again, I did keep them. It's just not something I end up reaching for a whole lot, so that's why I'm ranking them at number 15. Number 14 would be the e.l.f. Metallic Flare highlighters. I do like these, but I think they're a lot different than I thought they were going to be, and based on the reviews online, I think a lot of people feel the same way. These are a lot more dry and subtle than I initially thought they would be. They look like they're going to be super intense on the cheeks. They're called Metallic Flare, and they have a little bit of a metallic sheen to them, but I think overall they're a little bit more subtle, and they also feel slightly dry. That actually comes in handy for me sometimes because I do have such oily skin, but I think typically I'm wearing a lot of mattifying products like a matte foundation and a matte powder, so adding on a little bit more of a dry powder highlighter on top can sometimes be too much. So I'll reach for these when I'm wearing like a tinted moisturizer or if I'm wearing a hydrating foundation, which typically happens during like the winter time. So they're just not my go-to for the majority of the year, but I do like them because they give your skin a subtle glow without being too intense. So if that appeals to you, you might actually enjoy these as well. I feel like sometimes it's hard to find a little bit more of a subtle formula because a lot of highlighters are so intense. So number 12 and 13 are kind of interchangeable. This totally comes down to personal preference. I just find that I don't love loose highlighters these days. I tend to make a mess and I feel like my entire face ends up being shimmery or glittery because it doesn't exactly stay in the exact place that I apply it. So that can be great if you do like an all over glowy look. I just find that, based on my personal preferences, that's not something I love these days. So that being said, at number 13 is the Artist Couture Diamond Glow Powder in the shade Summer Haze. As far as loose highlighters go, this formula and the next formula are great, and if you do like loose powders, you will love this. It applies nicely, it's very, very lightweight. I think the reason why I don't reach for this one a whole lot, on top of the fact that it is a loose highlighter, is that this really isn't a shade that I love. I used to have the most beautiful gold shade in this formula. I think I got it in a subscription box and then I ended up decluttering it, and that is one product I regret decluttering because it was so pretty on the skin. This one has like a little bit of an orangey hint, and that's not a highlighter shade that I love to wear. So I just find that I don't get a lot of use out of this based on the formula and the actual shade. So that's why I'm ranking it a little bit lower. So number 12 is the e.l.f. Nabela Noir highlighter. This is such a pretty formula, and I don't think e.l.f. has any other loose highlighters. Not that I can remember off the top of my head, but it would be so nice if they did more in this formula because I think it is so good. It's very finely milled, really pretty. This one does have a little bit of glitter in it, so it does look pretty sparkly on the cheeks, but I'm impressed by this. It performs just as well as the Artist Couture highlighter, but it's a lot less expensive, so that's why I ranked it just a little bit higher. Number 11 is the Laura Geller Baked Gelato Swirl Illuminator in the shade Gilded Honey. This is such a pretty color. I'm really enjoying the formula. It's not new to my collection, but it's newer than any of the other highlighters that I have, so that's why I'm ranking it a little bit lower. I feel like I'm still kind of getting the hang of it. I used to have this in my collection years ago, and then I got it not recently, maybe at like the beginning of the year in a BoxyCharm, and I was so excited because I just remember enjoying the formula. This is so pretty on the cheeks. It's a really gorgeous golden tone, but I also think it looks very smooth, very creamy on the skin, and I do love it. I feel like I'm just kind of, you know, getting used to it again, which is why I ranked it just a little bit lower, but I do enjoy this. Okay, so moving into the next 5. The last 5 were highlighters that I wear on very specific occasions. These 5 are highlighters that I reach for more often. They're not my top 5 or my absolute go-to, but they're highlighters that I really enjoy. I think the formulas are nice, the colors are really pretty. So coming in at number 10, I have these Soul Body Shimmering Body Powders. Now technically these aren't just like face highlighters, you can use them all over the body, but you can use them on the cheeks as well. This formula is a little bit different than ColourPop's Super Shock cheek products, which I will talk about next. These are a little bit more glittery, a little bit more shimmery, but I really enjoy them. They look so stunning on the skin, all over the body or on the face. They have like a creamy aspect to them, so they are very blendable. They stay in place well. And if you like a cream to powder highlighter, I think you'll really enjoy these. Now they do come in pretty large packaging, but they also have a mini. The larger highlighters are 14 and then the minis are 10. If you're not going to use these on the body, I would say grab the mini one because there's no way you'll get through this entire product if you just use it on the cheeks. These also have a really nice scent to them. It's kind of like a fruity coconut scent. I just think they're really, really nice. So I'm ranking them at number 10 because I like them. I don't reach for creams as much as I do powders, but as far as cream products go, these are my favorite, along with the ColourPop Super Shock highlighters, which come in at number 9. So I currently only have 2 of these in my collection right now. Now my issue with these is that they look amazing on the skin. They look great over, you know, foundation on their own. They look nice on bare skin. They also look good over powder, but I think there's something in this formula that does kind of cause a lot of texture issues for me. I started noticing a problem when I used the shade Your Catch. It is so gorgeous on the cheeks, and I love how it looks. This one is so intense and blinding, but when I do use it regularly, I kind of start to break out right where I apply highlighter. So unfortunately, I can't use these very often. If I use them one day and don't use them again for a while, my skin is usually fine. But if I use them regularly, and typically that's what I want to do when I do use them because they're so pretty, I do notice that I deal with some texture issues. So because of that, I haven't purchased a new shade in this formula in a while, but I do love these. I think they look great on the skin. So number 8 is a limited edition highlighter. I wanted to include my limited edition highlighters because, you know, I have them in my collection. I still reach for them all the time. This one is the Smashbox Hood Witch Crystallized Highlighter. When I did my last highlighter ranking, this was actually last. It came in as my worst highlighter, and it's definitely moved up. I find myself wearing this all the time. I think the formula is nice. It's not anything mind-blowing or spectacular, but the color is so pretty. I haven't found another pink highlighter that looks as great on the skin as this one, and when I'm wearing more of a pink look or like a purple look, kind of like what I'm wearing today, typically I will use this highlighter just to kind of pull everything together. So I definitely reach for this a few times every single month. I think it's great, and the packaging of course is stunning, but the highlighter itself, like the actual shade, is just one of my favorites. Number 7 is also a limited edition highlighter. Unfortunately, Smashbox creates like these beautiful collections and then discontinues them, but this is the Smashbox and Vlada Petal Metal collection, and this was one of the highlighters. I think that this formula is amazing. I would love to see them do more of these. It's just a very smooth, soft formula, so it glides over the skin in such a pretty way. It does not enhance texture, it doesn't look heavy, and this shade in particular on my skin tone is a little bit more subtle, so it's great as an everyday highlighter. It's just so soft and pretty, and when this expires and eventually I have to remove it from my collection, I will be so sad because it is one of my go-to everyday highlighters. I just think it's nice and easy to work with. Again, the packaging is stunning, but the actual formula and the shade is just perfect for me, so I do find myself reaching for this a lot. Number 6 is another great everyday highlighter. This one is the Essence Pure Nude Highlighter. This one is a lot less expensive. It is available now, and they do have some additional shades. So this one is great if you have, you know, my skin tone or something similar, but they also have a deeper one too. I like this formula because, again, it doesn't really enhance texture. It's just very, very light, very subtle, and sometimes you don't want a blinding highlight. You just want something that makes your skin look like it's naturally glowy, and this will do it note for you. When I'm doing like quick and easy everyday makeup, I don't usually want something too intense, and even if I'm doing more dramatic makeup, I'll usually skip over like a really intense blinding highlight and opt for something a little bit more toned down, and this is great. I love using this one, so that's why I'm ranking this one at number 6. Let's move into my top 5 highlighters. So number 5 is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Amrezy highlighter. So when this was first released, I missed out on it. I didn't even really know about it. I didn't purchase it, but when they brought it back, I decided to grab it because I felt like this was one of those limited edition products that a lot of people were so sad they missed out on. So admittedly, this was a product that I purchased just because of the hype. When I first got it, I didn't really understand the hype because I thought it was nice, but I also felt like I had other highlighters in my collection I liked a little bit more. After having it for, I don't know how long I've had this, at least over a year. I don't know exactly when they brought this back. But anyway, now that I've had it in my collection for a while, I find myself reaching for this all the time. I think the color is so stunning, but the formula is really nice. It's just very easy to work with. It applies beautifully. You can go in with a little bit or really build it up to be pretty shimmery and intense, and I just think it looks great on the skin. So it would be amazing to see Anastasia Beverly Hills come out with more highlighters in this formula. I don't know if it was like specifically made for that collab and they won't do that. Otherwise, I think we would have seen them release additional shades by now, but I am glad that I ended up purchasing this because it's something that I've slowly fallen in love with and I reach for all the time. Number 4 is the only highlighter palette that I currently have in my collection. It is the Essence Pure Nude Highlighter Palette. This retails for $10 and you get 4 gorgeous shades. They also have a deeper version, so if you have a darker skin tone, that might be a good option for you as well. I think that these powders just look pretty on the skin, and when I initially got them, I wasn't in love with them. It took me a little while to get there because at first I felt like they were too subtle, they were maybe a little bit powdery, but after I started working through the top layers, I felt like they looked great on the skin. And again, they're not overly intense, so if you like the original Essence Pure Nude Highlighter, you might like these. I don't think the formula is exactly the same as the original Pure Nude Highlighter. I think that one's a little bit more smooth and that one feels like a baked highlighter, whereas these definitely feel like powder highlighters. But for $10, you get 4 shades. I think they're great on their own or you can mix them together, and it's just a release that I've really been enjoying this year. So as for my top 3 highlighters, these are my favorite formulas in my entire collection. So number 3 would be the Ofra Highlighter formula. Now I will say that I don't necessarily reach for these as much as I do some of the other highlighters that I mentioned a little bit lower in the list. And the only reason is because these are so intense. Like, these are blinding highlighters, and if that is what you like, you will love the Ofra formula. That's not something I always go for, but when I want to go for that, these are perfect, and there are occasions where I do want to go for that. So I think that these are so lightweight and so easy to work with. A little bit goes such a long way, but I also love using these as inner corner highlights, just kind of like in the center of my lid to bring a lot of attention to my eye look. They have a ton of beautiful colors to choose from, and I think they have options that will work for everyone. So if you are a fan of really intense highlighters, I think you'll enjoy these, but I also like the fact that the formula is so lightweight because I don't think it really enhances a lot of texture on my skin, even though it is bringing a ton of attention to that area on my face because they are so bright. So number 1 and 2 are the same as last year, but they actually switch spots. So number 2 would be the Flower Beauty Shimmer and Strobe highlighting palette. So again, there are 2 different options, a lighter one and a little bit of a darker one. I do have the lighter one, and I still love this palette so much. I purchased it years ago, and it's still one of my go-to products because the powders themselves are very lightweight, but they're so pretty on the skin. It's hard to describe a highlighter because I feel like I describe them all in a similar manner, but hopefully the swatches will help you get a better idea of what they look like. I think that this palette is so convenient because I'll mix the shades together, I'll go in with one. It's definitely on the more affordable side, so I still love this, but I haven't found myself reaching for it as much as I have my number 1 choice. So don't get me wrong, I still enjoy this. I still think it's a great option, but 2020 for me has been the year of the Becca Shimmering Skin Perfectors. I feel like this is a throwback to, like, what was it, 2016, 2017? I don't know exactly when Champagne Pop was released, but I feel like that was the height of the Becca highlighters, but I still love them. They're still my favorite, and you know, the majority of the time when I wear a highlighter, I'm either reaching for Champagne Pop or Opal. I'm pretty set with these two colors. Champagne Pop is such a pretty peachy gold, so it looks great when I'm wearing a warm toned look, and then Opal is a little bit of a cooler toned highlighter, so I love it. I'm wearing it today, and whenever I wear like a slightly cooler toned eyeshadow look, this is what I'll go for. My skin has cleared up a lot over the past few months because I've really been focusing on skincare and just staying very consistent, but I think because I was dealing with so many texture issues in the beginning of 2020, whenever I wanted to wear highlighter, I would kind of go back to these because they are so lightweight and smooth, and they're not too intense on the cheeks. I think some people disagree with me on that because I've gotten some comments saying that you guys think these are really blinding highlights, and I guess it kind of depends. Like in comparison to the Ofra highlighters, they're definitely a little bit more subtle, but they're not as subtle as like the Essence Pure Nude highlighters. So for me, they're kind of like the perfect in between. I think they look so nice on the skin. I love using them. Like these are products that I just reach for. If I don't know what I want to do, what product I want to use, I'll reach for these and be happy every single time. So let me know in the comment section below, what is your go-to highlighter formula? I would love to hear from you. Let me know what you want me to rank next on my channel. I'm thinking about doing blush, but that might already be up on my channel because I feel like I'm filming these out of order. So if it is, I'll link it below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you very soon with a new video. Bye.